Weekend Cup with the Genesis Junior. This is the final. This is race 2 from the. Make sure I'm in the monitor screen. So this is the final race from the Weekend Cup. Next week we'll be starting the new with the Formula Rookie. The track will be announced at the end of the race where we'll be heading. Well, actually, it won't be. You'll be surprised. Actually, more of a surprise. It'll be live next week, 9 o'clock. It will be the Formula Rookie. We'll see how people fare with that. So the reverse good from last night's result. So we'll see. So because 2 people aren't here, that's Jiffers, who's not here, and Winky's also not here. So pole goes to Ashard. He has to set on 130. Basically, he has to be on pole. Second will be Thomas. Third will be Rico. Fourth, Kimster. Fifth, Morsey. And 6th will be Nomis. We'll also joined this evening by Nakleto and Cougar. And it's going to be an interesting one to see who will be crowned champion of this series. The inaugural championship. It's quite tight at the top. Just 5 points separating Kimster and Morsey. It will be all down to who will have the gusto and the ability to take this car on in the wet. And because it's going to be light rain at the start of the race, and then it's going to be 2 periods of dry or whatever. The track will dry up maybe a little bit, and then we will get another rain spot at the end, so another downpour at the end of the race. So Kimster does need to finish, has to finish at least in the top 3, and Morsey needs to. Well, Morsey needs to win the race, and he needs Kimster to finish lower than 6th place in the race to stand a chance of taking the title. He needs a luck of the gods really to be able to take the championship. But we'll see who will be crowned the first champion in this series. Kimster, of course, took the championship in the touring cars the midweek main championship, so he'll be looking to let's go Rico. Rico looking for his 2nd win. He took victory last week at Hockenheim, and he'll be looking to add on to that. Unfortunately, race 2 was abandoned from Hockenheim because of a clerical error by the race organisers, namely me. But I wish everyone good luck in this race. They're just lining up for their positions on the grid. It's nailing in some fast times. So I do apologise that the fact it's from the pit monitor, and that's because the geniuses at SMS decided to break the broadcasting. Not quite sure why, but obviously they have their reasons. So it'll be 55 laps this evening because of the rain, and adds some more laps on as well. Still with the mandatory stop, must change their tyres. Don't see anyone out on track at the moment. I think some people are taking in some practice laps. So not much to talk about now. I was asked to do some information on tracks and bore you to tears. So I shall bore you to tears with a little bit of information about the Silverstone circuit. So it originally opened and in 19 sorry. So it originally opened in 1948 run by the RAC. It was built around the around RAF Silverstone and utilised the two runways that were there. The track held the British Grand Prix in 1950 and underwent drastic changes throughout the 60s. It was one of probably the most heavily modified tracks in British racing. I mean, it's got, but of course the national circuit, which is everyone's racing on, utilises the old pit entry. Which had been the mainstay of the track for nearly all of its time until 2010, when it was moved to where it is now. So there we are, boring information now about the track done and out of the way. Okay, so there's our starting grid for tonight's race. The weather transitions and the time transitions will work, and it also is nice that the chat is actually working this week. Thank you, YouTube. So I have to now retire from and go to the spectate screen. There we go. So while I continue to talk bollocks for the next half an hour, the pit lane was moved down to the club corner, which isn't on the national circuit, surprisingly. And that's the modern track, so that's moved down there. They also upgraded Abbey and also cut out the connection that was between Abbey and Brooklands, which is all gone. Which was a nice part of the track, actually. Brooklands is still there, of course, and it's all part of this track. So the first corner here on the national circuit is Copse. I'm going to go to Maggots, cut out the trip through Beckett's, down through Aintree, down the Wellington Straight, through Brooklands, Luffield and Woodcote at the end. And that is the national circuit. So it looks like we're going to be underway under starters orders. So here we go for the final race of the Ginetta Junior Weekend Cup. It looks like Asher has got away to a good start, and as the spray starts to kick up, and it looks a little bit of friendly nudging there going on. Asher looks like he's got clean through, so has Thomas. We go to the back of the grid. Everyone's got cleanly through there. So now down to again some little bit of nudging going on there between the drivers as Thomas is driven wide onto the Wellington Straight. He's now side by side. We've got 4 cars all there, all slipstreaming. Who's got the whole shot into Brooklands, and Rico has got it all wrong and he's gone wide. he rejoins the track. Oh, it looks like he rejoins the track just in front of Kuga. Ashhead still holds the lead, but he's got pressure from Thomas behind him and our championship leader Kimster. As Kuga's got in front. As it looks like Ashhead and Thomas are gonna. Thomas is gonna challenge Ashhead for the lead as Kimster is false wide. That's given Rico a chance and Kuga. It looks like might have been a little bit of contact between him and it looks like Thomas has gone all the way back. So there must have been contact between Kimster and Thomas. That's given the chance to Kuga to move up into second place, and that also means that Morsey is now in front of Kimster. It's the slowest train you ever see on the Wellington Straight as Rico goes deep into that corner, late braking Brooklands. It's now on the outside at Luffield. He's got the inside line on Morsey. Ashhead still holds the lead. So come around to complete lap 3 of 55. Into the lead goes Kuga. He's nicely done. As there's contact again between, and it looks like Kimster's got collected in that. Yes, he has. I'm not sure if we can see any damage on his car, but he definitely got collected there. Not sure who it was who hit him there. Sure what's telling me that Kuga's making a pit stop because it don't look like he ain't. So maybe he he got a bit deep there at Brooklands. So Nomis is now starting to move up, our race winner from yesterday. This rain's starting to play a little bit of havoc because he's now tailgating Rico in third place. It's been a very scrappy opening few laps of this race. The rain is adding to the carnage. Looks like Morsey has picked up the first penalty of the race. Take a look at what that is. We'll try and see what the in-car is saying. Obviously, keeps it from the back of this. Of course, these guys don't race in cars, so we might have their little windscreen wipers. So that's almost on the inside. Through Maggots and Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. He obviously can, and I can't see the side of his cars and see who's next to him, but it's definitely there. We've got 3 abreast. Gunson have some really brave braking there from Morsey. They'll back up as they've hit the puddle there on the inside of just before Luffield. Meanwhile, this is all pained into the hands of Kuga. She's starting to get away from the squabbling cars behind him. So it's still Kuga who leads, from Ashhead in second place, Rico in third, Nomis in fourth, Morsey and bringing up the back of this train in fifth, Kimster starting to fall off. Of course, if he finishes in this position and Morsey does move up, it will jeopardise his chances of winning this championship, as he must be carrying some damage from the contact that he's been having throughout the opening exchanges of this race. So it's Coogan still has the race lead as again they go deep into that corner. They're still outbraking themselves as they enter Brooklands. The puddles there are quite you see Morsey there taking a little chunk out of Luffield. That's definitely going to cost him some time if he hasn't given it back already. Cougar is still leading after 6 laps. It's 49 laps remaining. Everyone still has to make their pit stops. Hopefully next week normal things system should be restored with Cleto will be joining me in the booth, so hopefully we'll have a much more better view of the stream rather than the not so nice pit monitor that we've got here, which might gives us all the information, doesn't really give us the extent of the gaps. So hopefully we'll get more people in. So still Cougar leads, Ashhead in second place. Rico is looking on the inside. That have to avoid that puddle that seems to be. We saw it forming last night in the last night's race, so it's hindering. It's should get a dry spell soon. It looks like Kimpster has managed to move up into 5th place. Let's see what happened to Morsey. Morsey has dropped back. Again, this is swinging the championship now back into Kimpster's hands. When we entered this race too, Kimpster did have a 5-point lead at the top of the championship. As it stands, he will be crowned the first champion of the EDC Weekend Cup. Ashhead's now got some pressure from Rico. So all that spray on the Wellington Straight. There's also be a nasty puddle starting to form down towards the end of this, around about the middle of this track. So middle of the Wellington Straight. It's not very nice. As Rico looking to take advantage here as he goes on the inside of Ashhead, forcing Ashhead onto the wide. Cougar has spun. Cougar has spun. And I don't think he collected anyone, and when he spun round he must have hit that inside puddle and he's lost the race lead. So Ashhead now moves back into the lead. He's now under pressure from Rico. So it's all swinging about here as Rico now goes on the inside of Cops. All the spray's kicking off, as you can see in the distance, and it looks like Nomis is also taking advantage here of they go into Maggots back onto the Wellington Straight. So drive power down now towards Brooklands onto the Wellington Straight. These cars, of course, they got all-weather tyres, as you can see, flashing up. These all-weather tyres ain't very good at clearing the water like a proper wet tyre would. They're effectively driving on road tyres in these wet conditions, and Silverstone's notorious for its puddle formations on project cars too. It does make it difficult to drive even with wet tyres on the full wets. It can catch you out, especially the GP version of this track. But Ashhead has now dropped down into 3rd place as Nomis has taken him. So Nomis, our race winner from yesterday, looking to get into the record books in the Weekend Cup as the first person to win 4 races in a championship. You can now definitely see as it looks like Ashhead was going wide there definitely went wide there at Maggots and Aintree onto the Wellington Straight. This is going to give he's now going to come under pressure from Kimpster. So he's been pulled back into Kimster's slips. Kimster will now be able to slipstream him into, and then we'll try to take advantage here into Brooklands. As you can see in the background there, Morsey made a move on Cougar. They're being very timid now around this track in these conditions. Of course, this is just the light rain. The full rain is going to come later, and that's going to really mix it up towards the end of this race. The Formula Rookie, which they'll be using next week, does have full wet tyres, so if we have these conditions, it will be interesting to see who would switch from the dry tyre to the wet tyre when the dry slot comes in before the wet slot comes back. So it'll be make more pit stops, of course, with a car that actually has the additional tyre. Also, it does sports tyres. I'm not quite sure what they are. I think there might be a softer compound, as it looks like. Nomis is going to try to use the power of the little ZTEC engine on the Wellington straight to get the lead on Rico. You can see all those cars, they're all collected together as Nacleto has fallen off. Thomas is restarting to catch him back up again, and there's contact between Kimster and Nomis. And now some more contact again. Kimster's car's really been in the wars tonight. It's like they definitely don't want him to become champion. But meanwhile, all these contacts between these cars is going to pay into the hands of Rico, who's pulling away now. Opened up a 2-second lead after all their collisions in the Brooklyn Lovefield complex of the national circuit. I saw the tail end of it. Kimster definitely got whacked from the rear there for a Nomis, but that's driven him back. The puddle might have paid into that. But it takes a lot to damage these little cars. I mean, they could probably survive a nuclear thing along with a Lada. Looks like Cougar starting to get away from them again. He was our race leader earlier, and after he made contact with the puddle and lost control, spun him out. And there's the puddle forming there, as you see Kimster going through it. Kimster's now into third place. Morsey has dropped behind. Seems to have missed the pass on Thomas made on Morsey. Nacleto is just puddling around at the moment. Of course, if you prefer Twitch over YouTube, you can find Nacleto's channel on there, and he will be streaming on the Twitch side. For those who prefer Twitch, pretty sure there's quite a lot that do like Twitch over YouTube. So the rain slot has now gone, as you can see in the top right hand corner of the car state of the track conditions. So the rain is now going to start to ease, and the track will start to dry up now as the heavy cloud section starts to come in, as the night is starting to fall. It's Cougar looking for an opportunity to pass Rico, who's our race leader at the moment. Of course, the puddles will still be there, and they won't go away. Drainage on Project Cars is not very good, as they all found out in the Red Bull ring. So you expect these puddles to remain until the rain slot comes in. So it looks like Thomas has also got past Nomis again, not past Nomis and Morsey. So he moves up into 5th place. I think Nomis might have tried to give up some penalty time that he had, might have allowed him to get through, but he's now under pressure from Morsey. He needs to start making headway through the pack if he's going to have any chance of winning this championship. So go in car and see just if the rain is starting to ease. So it is starting to ease a little bit, as you can see the glistening of the wet surface, particularly in here into Brooklands. The sun's also not going to be helping this out. So there you can see the puddle there on the outside corner, and you've also got one here on the inside at Luffield. This gives us is going to demonstrate to us. Of course we can't really see it because these windscreen wipers aren't activated. So we'll have a look at someone who actually has their windscreen wipers going. So this is Nomis using the tail end of this battle for the lead. So the rain is starting to ease up a little bit, as you can see it on the windscreen wipers. We'll take a lap around the national circuit. So here he goes through Copse. So that's Thomas in front of him, and we've got no view, of course, of his rear view mirror, so we can't see whereabouts Morsey is. So he's quite close as he goes now into Maggots. Through Maggots, through what would be Aintree, just there onto the Wellington Straight. So the rain droplets have now disappeared from the car, but the track is still glistening from being peppered by the light rain. As you can see, it's starting to see there, he's got a little bit not much control of the car. There's the puddle there on the inside of Brooklands, so with the outside of Brooklands, I apologise. There through Luffield, and that is a complete lap of the national circuit in car. So we'll go back to our battle for the race lead, as now the rain has stopped, but the track is still wet. It will take a couple of laps for these cars to start to carve open a dry line. As Cougar starting, it looks like Cougar is challenging Rico for the race lead. It's all these cars are still all tightly packed. It's Kempster going on the trying to get on the outside of Maggots, on getting now putting the power back down onto the Wellington Straight. He's going side by side with. He's been forced onto the outside at Brooklands. Is Cougar going to make contact with that puddle? That's going to give Kempster a chance to attack him at Luffield, but he's going to come under pressure from Ashhead. So Rico still holds on to this race lead. It's now Thomas he seems to be making the most headway through the wet field, as he's now going to start to put pressure on Ashhead. So if we were doing a driver of the day at the moment, it would be Thomas, who's managed to take both Morsey and Nomis, and it looks like he's going to take position from Ashhead, as Ashhead is going to force him onto the inside at Maggots, and he's now going to get down onto the Wellington Straight. He's going to get some slipstream from the cars in front. Is he going to get past? As they're all jostling for position. As you can see, the track is still really, really damp, even though the rain has stopped. The puddles are going to really play their part in this race. Thomas doesn't get it done, but no one's managing to get away here really. It's Cougar is going to put pressure on the Dutchman Rico. He's going on the outside. Is he going to try and get it done on the outside at Copse? He's got it done before Copse, and Cougar retakes the lead that he lost after he spun at Luffield. So Cougar moves back into the lead. Rico's now down to second, and he's going to get pressure from Kempster. So they enter into Copse, into Maggots, sorry, as it looks as though Thomas has got the pass done on Ashhead. Meanwhile, we still have battle here between Nomis and Morsey. Nomis is still just gauging his opportunity as Thomas has now been taken by both Nomis and Morsey, so his earlier moves have gone, his earlier forward progression has gone backwards, as Kimston's now looking to take both Rico and Cougar as he looks to try to slot himself into the race lead. It's all happening here as Thomas comes in for the first to come in for the mandatory stop. Here is Kimston going to get this move done as he goes on. A little bit of contact between the two as they go into Maggots and Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight. I can't see where about Ashhead is, but it's now back onto the Wellington Straight they come. I'll put the map and the thing on that we had yesterday, so we'll get to see the speeds that these guys are doing in these little cars. So Kimster looking on going to be pushed to the outside and the inside, sorry, of Brooklands into Luffield. He's not got enough to be able to challenge Rico for a race position. And out comes Thomas from his stop, so he's taking on tyres. It's all to play for. Is now two championship leaders are now going side by side. It looks like Morsey is going to challenge Kimster for third place. And he is now. The track is starting to dry up a little bit. As it looks like he's gonna try and get it done, and he's gonna get on the outskirts onto the power, and he's going to take third place from Kimster. Nomis is gonna also put pressure on Kimster as well, so Kimster could lose another track. He's gone to the outside to avoid the puddles, as he's gonna go back on the inside. And he can't get it position back from Morsey. So Rico is now under pressure from Morsey as well. As Morsey now comes into the pits for his mandatory stop, so we can tick off Thomas and Morsey now, who have now made their stops. We're full of trust in them to take on tyres, but we'll. So Morsey's now in. He's the white dot. He's gonna come under pressure. So it looks like Cleto. He's just pulling around at the moment. More of a reluctant racer here. He didn't really want to race because the numbers are not down. He could have raced. He could have, but next week he's definitely going to be joining me in the booth. Doesn't matter how many people we have. We won't make him drive the Formula Rookies. So he's going to take track position from Morsey, so Morsey will drop down, but he's more going to be concerned about whereabouts Thomas comes out, as if he cut Thomas off. So he's starting to see he's the white dot now coming out. We'll go back to the race lead, and it looks like Rico has got past Cougar for the race lead, so he's taken the lead back. These two have been having a really good ding-dong battle. As it looks as though they're starting to gap on Kimster, as Nomis now comes into the pit lane for his mandatory stop. So Nomis, Morsey and Thomas have all stopped. So there's Morsey. You can see Thomas in the background as Cougar's now putting pressure, as the track is still damper at Maggots and Aintree. It looks like it's drying up a little bit around the Wellington Straight. So Nomis is still in the pits. So whereabouts is Morsey in respect to Nomis here? Is Morsey? Nomis is now exiting. So Morsey's now coming around to complete his lap. He's now coming out. He's now entering Copse. Nomis is now back under his own power, and he has lost track position to Morsey. Also comes round to Thomas, but I don't think Thomas is going to get into position to be able to take him. So Morsey, Nomis has lost position to Morsey. As Cougar is again looking for an opportunity to take the lead back through Copse. Here between through Copse they go. So it looks like Asher just started to drop off from them. And these two have been really battling hard for this race lead, because they've got to try to get as much of a gap. Morsey and Nomis and Thomas, who have all pitted. Cleto's of course got coming as well. As Cougar comes through. And through Brooklands and into Luffield. They've got to be careful when they say when they're going to go into the pit lane. It's like none of them are going to stop as I actually haven't been very good in the racing. I actually haven't looked at the lap count, but then I come around to complete lap 23 of 55. So we're reaching the halfway point of this race. There are a few incidences in the wet where they made some contact with each other. Looks like it's been anything major really, but it looks like these two are now starting to gap on Kimster. But as it stands, Kimster will take the title from Morsey. Morsey's down in 6th place at the moment. Kimster's currently sitting pretty in 3rd place, as Rico looking to use the power of the Ford Z-Tech engine in his car to take the race lead. Is he going to get it done before at Brooklands? It doesn't look like he is. He's going to be forced onto the outside of Brooklands. He's going to dive back on the inside, and Cougar has hit the puddle and he's lost control. So he had that happen to him earlier in the race, where he hit that puddle and lost control. He spun all the way around. And he's now going in to change his tyres, and probably going to change his underpants as well, as he was caught as his car did a pirouette right in front of 2 cars. He would have been like a deer in the headlights there, as he was completely out of control. So that's benefited Kimster, who has now inherited 2nd place. So where will Cougar come out after diving into the pits after his stop? He's going to come, of course, Nakleto is going to take track position from him, but Nakleto hasn't pitted yet. It's whereabouts the cars that have pitted, Morsey, Nomis and Thomas come out. Here comes round. Yeah, that's Nakleto. There you can see Morsey and Nomis. So Alan making his exit is Cougar. He obviously has fixed his car, or must have fixed his car, and it looks like he's taken on some fuel. No, he hasn't taken on any fuel. So he has lost track position to Nomis and Morsey. That's how he comes. He will come out in front, and he will come up behind, actually side by side with Thomas. As Rico is now making his stop. So that now means that Kimster's now our race leader. Ashid is now moved into 2nd place. Cleto starting to A little bit of momentum. As you can still see, the track is still a bit wet. As you can see, the trails of water off the rear of the Cleto's quite illuminated green car. So Rico's in the lane, is in the box at the moment. So here comes Morsey. So Morsey has taken track position, as we can hear Rico's car start up. So Morsey has taken position from him. Where is Nomis? Here's Nomis. So it'll be whereabouts will Rico come out? As it looks as though he's going to lose track position to Nomis. There's Nomis, you can see in the white car. Thomas is going to come out, and Thomas again is going to. Thomas has made some good headway with these pit stops. So Thomas moves ahead of Rico and ahead of Cougar. So he is. So Nomis and Morsey's stops have been quite well planned. As Ashard's now in, he's going to come on. He's definitely come under threat from these three. Stopping Thomas's flat tyres will start to drop now as the track's starting to dry up. As the track temperature is about 66 degrees. It's not warm. It's quite cool. Here comes the trail of cars, and here's Cleto followed by Morsey. It's all good news for Morsey at the moment as he continues to thund around at a lightning pace. Nomis is going to also take position from as Thomas and Rico. Ashhead has lost track position, so our race leader Kimster and Lecleto are still the ones to left to stop. So Lecleto started to slow down a little bit here. So Cougar's now is now putting Thomas under pressure. Thomas, who seemed to gain the best out of all the stops at the moment. I'm sure Cougar's going to be quite reluctant to take position through the left field after spinning before his stop. These guys were battling earlier for the race lead, but they seem to have been disadvantaged in the stops. So the track's not really drying that much. So Lecleto has lost position to Morsey. He's now dropped down into 30. He's still to stop at the moment. It looks like he's going to be gobbled up by Nomis, who's also coming through at a quick pace. So that looks like that's Cougar going to go through Maggots and Cougar again has lost control, and he's collected. And he has collected Thomas as he lost control in entry to the Wellington Straight. He lost control. He's now spun. That's the third time now he's spun, and he collected Thomas this time at the entry of the Wellington Straight. He's definitely not having fun in these wet conditions in this car. That's giving Rico a chance to move away. So we take a look at how Thomas is now. Of course, he's going to have a little bit of damage after the contact he had from out of control Cougar. He's going to push him back into the clutches of Ashhead in 8th place after all the stops at the moment. Still Lecleto and Kimster are still to come in. So if you wish to join the EDC, we can find us on Facebook. Search for the European Drivers' Championship. We have spaces available for our midweek race, which at the moment we're doing LMP2s, I'm sorry, LMP3s. And he also can free to join this. The Weekend Cup next week will be tackling the open wheel cars in the form of the slowest of that, which is the Formula Rookie. Full of its sets of challenges. The track will not be announced at the end of this race. It'll be a surprise for the start of next week's stream, 9 o'clock on Friday. So Will Kim's to come in on lap 30 with 25 laps remaining of this race. He needs to get a good more distance ahead of Morsey. Of course, with Morsey bunched up with Nomis, Rico is also there as well. He can't fall below 6th place, which is a battle which will put him into the clutches of Rico and Thomas. If he does, then he'll come under pressure for the championship. At the moment, he is sitting pretty in first place, 40 seconds ahead of Morsey, his title challenger. There's 5 points between the two of them. So if he drops down to, well, effectively, if he falls down to 8th place, he will lose the championship. So he needs to make sure that he scores maximum points ahead of Morsey. As Necleto comes into the pit lane for his stop, that's going to push him down the grid. A valiant effort for him. He's kind of shanghaied into racing in tonight. He really didn't have any attention to, so it's a fair play to him for at least tempting. The cars are getting a bit wobbly now, as the track temperature is still sitting around about 66 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not exactly warm for a summer night, which is what the game is currently set to. We have another rain slot expected. Can't really tell when, as to when the game decides it, obviously. So the rain slots were light rain, heavy cloud, and full rain. So that will throw the cat among the pigeons, really. So they were struggling a little bit in the light rain, but the full rain is going to really dampen this track as I speak. It hits. So here is the full rain. So that's now the rain slot has now entered the fray. With 24 laps remaining in this race, Kimster still has yet to come for his stop. So that's a little bit of dry running. So that Nomis looking like he's going to get pressure on Morsey. It looks like he definitely is. He's caught up with him. So there's the spots of rain you can now see on the camera. Not exactly positioned in the best of places. Thomas is under pressure from Ashhead. This is the battle for 6th place. So we'll take a look at the time and the penalties that people have got at the moment. So Morsey and Moramis are both sitting on 2-second penalties. Thomas has 4 seconds of penalties, so that will play its advantage, of course, to Kimster. So that does mean that if Kimster does manage to get out after his stop, at least relatively close to Morsey and Nomis, he could take the race win by default. As you can still see, the wet track is definitely still wet at Woodcote. So through Cops comes our race leader, who's yet still to make his stop, as the track temperature is now starting to go up a bit, but the rain is coming down. I'm not sure it's going to be affecting them that much. You can hear it peppering the metal of the car. It definitely looks like it's coming down at Woodcut. So those puddles that were there before that stayed from the light rain, they're going to definitely not into refill when the full rain coming down now. So it's Nomis in third place. Rico's a further 10 seconds back on these two. Rico and Kuga, these two were battling earlier for the race lead. The stops seem to have gone against them. Kimster's still not pulling the trigger on a stop as he's trying to get as much of a gap as possible on Morsey. See, Morsey is just exiting in left field. I don't think it will be more. I don't think it'll be enough of a gap to get him out in front of Nomis and Morsey. Because these two last night did battle quite extensively for the race win, which Nomis took. So Morsey's back-to-back victories, they were stopped by Nomis, of course, at Donington Park. And then Cougar broke his, Rico broke the streak, and basically did a combo breaker between these two. But still Morsey in front of Nomis. He's under pressure there. As you can see, the rain is starting to come down a bit. It's not coming down everywhere on the track, which is a nice feature, I think, for project cars. I mean, it's raining in some sections of the track, but not in others. Morsey has got some problems, as he's definitely got a problem in the form of Nomis behind him. Nomis, who is ever so competitive, particularly in midweek. So we're now 20 laps remaining. Kimster still has yet to come in for his stop. He's the only person on the track that has not stopped. As the gap between the two of them is now down to 37 seconds. Gap between Nomis and Rico, as I go and have the top screen that I would have if I had the others. The gap here. No, the gap's not there. So the gap between them is about 11 seconds back to Rico and Cougar, who are battling for 4th and 5th. It's about a second between them, and 2 seconds back is Thomas and Ashed, who is now got a second gap on him, as Nomis is looking on the inside at Brooklands for an opportunity there. Of course, that puddle that was there is now going to start to reappear as the rain's now going to fill that back up. This is all over the rear of Morsey's car. Through Woodcut they go, and let's complete the lap 36. This is effectively would be the battle for the race lead once Kimster stops. I don't think he's got enough of a gap on these two to be able to come out in front. So it looks as though Rico has, looks like Cougar has got back onto the case of Rico. This is the battle for 4th. At the moment, he's got a little bit of a gap on him. Gap between Morsey and Kimster is slowly dropping, as Kimster's now down. They're down still lapping about 2 seconds faster than him, even despite the rain coming down. Definitely seem to have found a rhythm with the car. Looks like Ashed has caught up with Thomas. So there are little battles battling out there for track position. We've got battle here developing for 6th place between Thomas and Ashed. Cougar and Rico are battling here for 4th, and Nomis and Morsey are battling here for 2nd at the moment. But Kimster's still in the lead. Is going to come here on lap 37? He is. So Kimster now comes in for his mandatory stop. He almost lost control there as he entered the pit lane, but he had about 36 seconds before he stopped on Nomis and Morsey, who are just coming into the Wellington, just coming down the Wellington Straight. It looks as though Nomis has got past Morsey. Not sure what happened there, but he gained 2nd place. I'm not sure. I think Morsey might have got a penalty of some sort. I think Kimster is still stationary as Nomis is now coming round Woodcote. So is Kimster moving? His car is now moving, so he's now out. Is he going to get out in front of these two as he's now exiting the pit lane? You can hear him coming out. There he is. There goes Nomis and there goes Morsey. So he's lost position on those two. That will come Kimster, but whereabouts is Rico? Rico does not gain an advantage. He did get enough to keep himself in front of Rico, who comes round, as you can see, there in 4th place with Thomas just behind him, who's now, it seems as though we've lost Cougar somewhere. I think Cougar he's definitely struggling in the wet conditions in this car. As you can see there, he's getting all wobbly all over the car's all wobbly and all over the place for him at the moment. He's not having much fun out there, as this rain is now definitely coming down. So I'm not sure whereabouts. We saw it. Morsey was going slow on the Wellington Straight, which gave an opportunity for Nomis to take it. He didn't really slow down, didn't really help Kimster, but at the moment it technically does help him, because at the moment he still will be crowned the Weekend Cup champion for the Ginetta Juniors, despite coming in 3rd place, so he will be champion. Morsey's currently sitting, Morsey's sitting on 14 points, he's sitting on 13 points, so he will take it by 4 points at the moment. But it's Nomis who's now our race leader, as he's now coming under pressure from Morsey. He's now got back onto the rear of his car. As you can see, Necletto in the distance there is going to come around. He should get out their way. Now the light rain was treacherous. Pretty sure that the full rain is going to be even more worse for these little cars. You can see the spray coming off from the rain as it's coming down. You get a little bit of trackside action, see what it's looking like on the car. So there's Necletto, currently coming around in 8th place. Cougar is not going to get any pressure from him. See, the light rain earlier was just a minor inconvenience, but this full rain is really going to. As you can see, the puddles all over there at Maggots and onto the Wellington Straight there. Yesterday the puddles were really bad on the Wellington Straight. You kind of like trying to negotiate the English Channel. You try to avoid these puddles. There was one of them, and that will get worse as the rain gets worse. That's the puddle that's caused Cougar a few problems. You hear Morsey's engine in the background. Morsey's Yeah, so the track is not ideal at the moment. There's a few puddles that were caused of. If you watched the stream yesterday, Nomis actually hit the puddle on the Wellington straight that sent him nearly spiraling out of control. He managed to contain it, but nearly costing the race win. As we now have 14 laps remaining in this race. For some it's about damage control, for others it's about championships. And in the aspects for the championship, despite Morsey's best efforts, he will lose the championship. Of course that was due to him. He did miss the Hockenheim race, so that has played probably into the hands of Kimster. So might have actually taken the full advantage there if we had the second races, but that was abandoned and no points were awarded. So if you are interested, of course, in partaking in this, next week we'll be doing the Formula Rookies, as I said, and then drop me a line on PSN. I'm happy to add you to the race next week if you're fully interested. There's that Morley now taking an interesting line through Maggots as he slams onto the brakes, tries to find some grip in these all-weather tyres. Nomis is now going side by side to him on the Wellington straight. But be careful of the rain, the puddles are now littering that straight. Mordy's got it done. He doesn't want to be there. And their contact as he hit that puddle that we saw in Nomis's car. And that puddle has slowed Morsey right down, and that has done some, and there will be contact between Nomis and Morsey. That was the puddle there was forming in at Brooklands on the inside of the corner, technically on the outside of the corner, outside the inside of it. Well, the inside of the corner. It's the racing line really. But that puddle slowed Morsey right down, and Nomis went right through him. So these treacherous conditions are really going to start affecting these cars. Of course, not full wet tyres. I don't really think the wet tyres would do much in these conditions on this track. There's Kimster currently sitting in third place. Nomis is all over that, making his car look very, very big. As that puddle's really starting to affect them here. So we're now coming up to what would be the last 12 laps, last 11 laps of this race. And the last 11 laps of the little Ginetta Junior. It's been an interesting 5 weeks for this car and this championship. Kind of the numbers went up high and then kind of went back down low. I think as people started to get a bit bored of the car. But next week is going to be more exciting. No downforce open wheel car with damage switched off, so you can crash to the heart's content. Don't think Nomis has any damage on his car. I can actually tell from this view. Man, this is the battle for the race win. Still 2-second penalties between the two of them. Thomas has 4-second penalty on Rico. I'm not sure about. I think Rico. Don't know if Rico knows that, but if he gets close enough, it's about 2 seconds. It's about 3 seconds on gauging from that on Rico, between Rico and Thomas, so he would take 4th place. So, but anything can happen in the EDC races. They generally always do, especially in the form of restarts. Our fair share of them. Of course, there's no restarts in this championship. That's why the open wheel race next week will have no damage, because I don't really want to sit here and restart the race while I'm streaming. So you can join me on YouTube next week, the Big B59. I know it's a bit confusing. It's my old account. Don't blame me. And I'll be streaming on YouTube, and Lecleto, who's currently fooling around in 8th, he will be streaming on Twitch if he's racing, if he's around next week. But he will be definitely joining me in the booth, the virtual booth, from the track that you don't know, that they won't know yet. So Thomas is desperately going to be looking for this race win. Both of these are going to be record setters at the moment. Both sitting on 3 race wins. Both dominated one weekend. Morsey dominated Alton Park, made that end, and Donington was Nomis's domain. Both have 3 race wins. The other 2 winners of the championship races was Rico, who's currently in 5th, and John Reeve, who took our first ever win at the Red Bull Ring National. As there you see, the Wellington Straight puddle has caused Nomis some problems, and that will mean that he's going to lose some time on Morsey. As you saw there, he landed right squarely into that puddle that's now starting to form across the Wellington Straight. Should be renamed the Wellington River at the moment. It's very treacherous. I think of all the tracks on Project Cars 2, when it comes to rain, Silverstone is probably the worst for drainage and puddle formations. You can get away with some tracks, as like Red Bull Ring and others, where the drainage is proper, and you can actually get around the puddles, but Silverstone is unrelenting when it comes to puddles. So you see them all over the place to avoid the minefield that is the Wellington Straight. Almost already lost control, and he's lost control again, and it's big loss of control. We're in car to watch that as he hit that puddle on the Wellington Straight, and he has planted straight into the wall. And looks like it is very serious damage that he has received from that contact with the wall, and that will surely be his race in any contention for the race win. He's going to have to go into the pits to get that fixed. That's just the unfortunateness of this track in the wet. Yeah, he lost control early the lap before, but he really lost control there, and that's going to be a lengthy stop for him. It looks like Thomas has also got some damage from the wet, so he's going to have to. He's coming in to fix his car. but it is treacherous conditions. As you can see, Morsey now losing control on the Wellington Straight. It's that the track is really starting to become difficult for them as he avoids the puddle formation formed at the that's forming in Brooklands. So it's really starting to get treacherous out there, as it looks as though Nomis's car was not fixed. No, it hasn't. No, it definitely doesn't look like his car was repaired. So he still has sustained suspension damage from that collision he had with a wall on the Wellington Straight when he lost control. Yeah, his car's all over the place. I'm pretty sure he didn't get it fixed. It's a shame for him, as he's all over the place there. He's going to have to make another stop. So there's Mr. Cool, Kimster. He's the master in the wet, it would seem, at the moment. He not driving the car too fiercely, as you can see. Morsey in the distance there is definitely easing his car round, as another car in the distance there has lost control. Who was that? Who's gone? That was Thomas. Looks like he's gone, and he's reset his car. Rico's now inherited third place. These last 6 laps, as Thomas again has lost control. He's taking a little bit of a detour in the distance there. He's gone on to what is part of the, I don't know what part of the track that even is. He's decided to go and find. Thomas is in again to obviously get the repairs that he should have had. But he obviously didn't set up his stop to fix his car. Of course, he's staying here to just change his tyres, so he's not gone back in to fix that. I didn't see who that was that's got no front end. That's Cougar who's got no front end. As we were flicking through the cars, so Cougar's got no front end of his car. That's completely gone. Thomas has now dropped down into 7th place, and now he's dead last. Kimster now loses a little bit of control on that Wellington Straight. As back in the distances, that was Nicleto who's lost control. As it's really the car is just. It's clearly not really, doesn't seem to be adapting itself quite well in the rain. I mean, it's horrible out there for these guys. Of course, I'm just watching this and commentating on it, but it's the Silverstone curse. You see, it's not very nice in the wet, and it's really starting to hammer cats and dogs, and probably cows and sheep and everything out there. But Norris is the poor recipient, as he's gone wide again. Is his car fixed? I'm not sure. I don't think his car's fixed. I think he's still suffering from his car not being fixed. Can't tell if it's the car not being fixed or it's the conditions that are really affecting them out there. But this Wellington Straight is definitely playing its part tonight in determining who's going to win this race. It's definitely the most treacherous part of this track, as you can see. They're all over the place to avoid the puddles that have formed on that straight, and they are not nice. There it is. That's the puddle that's causing the issues. And you've got a massive puddle there at Brooklands that's leaking across the track, and you've got another one here at Luffield. So it's definitely going all wrong out there for some people. Obviously seems to be the man who seems to be the most affected by it. I'm not sure if his car's fixed or anything. He's definitely pulling to the left there. It's more like trying to negotiate the Suez Canal than it is trying to get around the track in these conditions. Of course, in the in a real championship, the race probably would have been stopped by now because the conditions are so bad. Silverstone is we've had it before at Silverstone in the wet. So I think Cougar's there nursing his car. He's got damage. He's got no front end, so Nomis should breeze past him and take 7th place. But the treacherous conditions are definitely starting to play their part. Still in the lead is Morsey. He's having his fair shares of problems in this wet weather. Now I'm pretty sure he does have enough fuel to finish this race at 55. I'm not quite sure. It'd be interesting to see if he will have to come in for a stop. So the rain's now changed over to light rain, as you can see Nomis in the distance there. As round goes, and that's a big off from Cougar right in front of our race leader as he lost control on the Wellington straight. That's going to be damaged. He's got no front end anyway, so that's going to be even more damage to his car. But that might have been a bit of I'm pretty sure Morsey wouldn't have been too pleased if he got collected there as Cougar lost control. As he now comes round to start lap 54, the penultimate lap of this race. I'm pretty sure they'll be more than happy to get out of these conditions. More than happy to start driving some more fun races and some cars that are probably more faster and in some more dry conditions. But as it stands, Morsey will not have done enough to win this championship, but he will go down as a 4-race winner. As again in the distance there's someone else losing control. So I'm not sure who that was. It was Thomas again losing control, so Nomis has inherited 6th place. So the conditions are starting to come back to Nomis. And there's Cougar again losing control. And who's that behind him who's not got it square, and that it looks like that's Nakato, who was having such a horrible race, but he seems to have been able to capitalise on other people's mistakes and spins and whatnot to take 5th place at the moment. I think Nomis is going to be able to track him down, so Morsey's now starting the final lap of this race. I'm pretty sure they'll be desperately wanting him to finish this race. As you can see, the lap times have even dropped drastically as they're trying to negotiate this river rather than a circuit. So around some more cars. It seems to be the Wellington Straight that seems to be the one that's causing the problems in this race. As you can see, them all gingerly taking that corner. Morsey doesn't want to lose control, and he's just about got it. Kimpston there is negotiating these puddles as well, as he desperately trying to bring it home in 2nd place. So Morsey will now come round Luffield for one last time. If I was that person in front of Morsey, I'd stop just so I don't have to go back round. So Morsey will take final race of the series in the Ginetta Junior and he's 4-time winner as well, but he was not done enough to take the championship. So Morsey is our race winner. He's taken the final race of the series. Kimster brings it home in second place. Rico will swing it round sideways in third place. It gives a little bit of a light flash for us to finish the race. So Morsey in third. Ashhead will come round in fourth. Inherited that from Nomis's loss of control. So he tried to get too much power down on the Cleto. Comes back in fifth. Nomis and I'm not sure Nomis and Cougar bringing it round, so Nomis will be our last finisher. Still the only one that's under his own power at the moment, and he will be disappointed. He lost and got serious damage and put it in the wall at Wellington. He will come in sixth place. So there we have it. That's the race 2 over and done with. I'm pretty sure they're going to be yelling at me when I get back into the thing. So Morsey is our final race winner. He takes the final race of the series. Kimster in second place. Rico brings it home in third. Fourth is Ashhead. Fifth, Nacleto. Sixth, Nomis after 2 stops to fix his car. Thomas comes it home in seventh. Cougar in eighth, and ignore me, I retired, so I had to go into the monitor screen. So next week will be live from 9 o'clock. It will be the Formula Rookie, a slightly more skittish car than this, and it does not like the wet very much, so hope for no more wet races. But if you follow me on Twitter, also you can find the EDC on Facebook, and also congratulations to Kimster, who is our first champion in the EDC Weekend Cup. So he takes the slowest Ginetta trophy to add to his touring car championship, which he won midweek last week. So he's now a double champion, our first double champion. Congratulations to him, and we'll see you next week from 9 o'clock. Thank you very much for watching.